Okay, let's get started here. Rural Missouri MAGA, as we approach the Trump State of the Union tonight, I'm looking on my Reddit sub feed here. Leopards ate my face. Rural Missouri MAGA hates Biden and anyone who voted for Biden. He voted for Trump to break up immigrant families. Instead, Trump permanently banned his mail order country girl Thai wife from coming back to Missouri. Rural Missouri MAGA now begs Trump to let her come home to America. President Trump, I voted for you. Please allow my wife to come home to America. If you guys are new, go ahead and subscribe. Hello. Hello, everybody's saying hello. Hey, bro. Christopher, nice name. We share the first name. How are you doing? I'm doing good. Just getting ready for the State of the Union. Sub, thank you. President Trump, I voted for you. Please allow my wife to come home to America. I am very familiar with this. I have a foreign fiance myself, so it is very difficult, if not impossible, to get friends or family or anybody who was born in another country into the U.S. right now. I mean, a lot of people from the U.S. like that. They like his hardcore immigration. They don't want people from other countries coming to the U.S., but I would argue that's what has funded our country. What made America great is foreigners coming to the U.S. And working hard because they have nothing else. They come to the U.S. To make a better life for themselves. My grandparents came from Italy in the 1920s and, went from being simple farmers to, my grandfather wasn't, a super successful guy, but he made a life here. He bought a house in Long Island, New York. He worked as a bartender in New York for years. But back then, he was able to, bartender and then bar manager at a club in New York City. He was able to take that and buy a house in New York, which, I don't think anybody, maybe if you have a bartending job at one of the most profitable bars in the country, you could actually buy a $500,000 or $600,000 house. My grandfather's house on Long Island, it's long been sold since they passed on in their 90s, some 20 years ago. But, their house now on Long Island, they probably had, it was in Westbury, New York, if any of you guys are familiar with that. They probably had a quarter acre. I don't know. He had 2 gardens on his lawn, and I think that house would be $1 million these days. Okay. So who's getting ready for the State of the Union? Who's gonna watch the State of the Union? I'm gonna watch it. I might not watch the whole thing because Trump, last year in the State of the Union, it went on for 90 minutes, and he mostly babbles. I don't know why. Rural Missouri voter, he's upset that Donald Trump is not letting. He voted for Trump, but he can't get his Thai wife into the country, which, I don't know. Everybody heard his rhetoric on immigration and at his rallies. They wanted to kick everybody out. Why would they let new brown people into the country? Let's see what else we got. A Republican representative is surprised that the guardian of pedophile is giving cover for a sexual abuser. Surprised that the guardian of pedophile, I guess. I'm joining Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert. This is Thomas Massey. I'm joining Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert, and Anna Paulina Luna in calling for Representative Tony Gonzalez to resign immediately. Where are the other men in the GOP? Trump is infamous for making terrible endorsements. This is one, and it should be revoked. Tony Gonzalez faces mounting pressure from GOP. Tony Gonzalez is one of the GOP guys who's convicted of rape or something else. No way. You mean corporations are his priority? Maha moms turn against Trump. Women feel like they were lied to. President Trump's executive order aimed at spurring production of pesticide has infuriated leaders of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s Maha movement. Yeah, Trump just wrote an executive order giving the glyphosate people a pass. So Maha is just, bullshit, of course. Everything Trump does is bullshit. What's up, Malcolm, Dad? Malcolm in the middle? Wasn't the dad the guy from, was it the guy from Breaking Bad? I don't know, I like that guy, so thanks for the comparison. Trump spit in the face of those of us who voted for him. I won't pretend he didn't just so I don't feel stupid for my vote. It's really hard to read MAGA quotes because most MAGA doesn't know any grammar for some reason. I voted for him and I regret that vote. Yes, I said it and I stand by it. I will never again be convinced to ignore my gut or principles. How were you convinced to ignore your gut or principles? This is the feminist misogyny, I guess it is. Yes, I may be insulted for voting for the man. Yes, I may be insulted for voting for the man. I may be held to the fire for it, and that's fine. But what wouldn't be fine is continuing to pretend I'm still okay with it. To those of you who don't regret it, that's you, that's fine. I won't debate this with you. For me, I do. There's a lot of people who voted for Trump who are still fine with everything he's doing, but I don't think anybody's fine with the economy. I mean, we all feel the economy in the U.S. and things are definitely not getting better. Houses are more expensive, gas is a little cheaper, but is that even really noticeable? I mean, I drive a hybrid car. My friends have been making fun of me. I live in Colorado. Most of my friends drive Suburbans and big trucks, and they always make fun of my car until gas prices spike up, and then they all want to ride with me when we go, run shuttles to go kayaking and that kind of stuff. They want to go fishing, whatever. They want to ride with me because my car gets 35 miles to the gallon, not 8. Canada welcomes Philippine citizens for a work visa, but they must pass an eligibility test. Get a quick evaluation with this simple form. That's an ad. But that's interesting. My fiance is Filipino. Almost like the guy who can't start a computer might not actually care and or know anything about crypto. The only thing Trump cares about crypto is that it made him, close to $1 billion with his crypto scam and his son's crypto company that they're, Saudi Arabia is able to anonymously buy billions of dollars in his crypto, and same thing with Qatar and those countries. They're buying, God bless you too, they're buying billions in crypto from Trump, and it's a backdoor way to bribe him, basically. Am I in pain? No, I'm not in pain. Thank you for asking. I'm very healthy. Are you referring to the way I talk? I just have a deep, brusque voice. I always have, so I can't help the way I talk, but, why do you ask if I'm in pain? Are you referring... Thank you for the hearts. The dynamics, how are you? Oh, you asked if I was in pain? Is that some kind of Greek symbol you put there? Explain it to me. Let's see. Noted MAGA Maha still. Jillian Michaels suddenly finds new Trump RFK pesticide executive order devastating. This doesn't just affect farmers. This is omnipresent. They would probably find it in yours and my urine right now if they tested it. So I'm going to check out this article from The Hill. The Hill is a kind of a right-wing online. Oh, we have audio.
Jillian Michaels on Trump, RFK Jr. defense of pesticide. Devastating by Ashley Fields. Health and wellness expert Jillian Michaels on Monday rebuked President Trump's executive order approving the use of a controversial pesticide, describing the move as devastating. This is actually devastating. It is not a conspiracy theory that glyphosate is linked to cancer. There are hundreds of studies that have illustrated now it increases risk significantly for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Michaels said during an appearance on News Nation's The Hill. We also know through whistleblowers and numerous lawsuits, of which there have been over 170,000, that the chemical company knew this and tried to bury the information, tried to go after the independent researchers.
So guys, the government's been letting them do this to us, both Democrats and Republicans, and for money, they take bribes from these companies. Been letting them use glyphosate on crops, it's a pesticide to keep bugs off them. It's a cheap, easy way for industrial farms, instead of doing the hard work. They use glyphosate and it causes cancer, especially the people who live by these farms, but also the people like the rest of us who are consuming this food. And Trump just signed an executive order, basically saying that none of these people, these companies can be held responsible for using glyphosate for all these years. Alamo City, Calo. That's cool. I have no problem with gay people. If you're gay, that's fine with me.
Created ghost
Go ahead and
studies
subscribe.
to try to tell a different story, and essentially, they now have to pay $7 billion.
If you're new, subscribe. Thank
to
you.
the victims.
Get a membership. If you want to help out the channel, check out down below my link to the Mint Mobile. You'll be helping out yourself. I've been with Mint Mobile for 10 years. I don't have sponsors, but I took them on only because I've been using it for 10 years myself. In fact, when I signed up, they were Mint Sim, and I remember signing up. I was taking care of my sick mom at the time, and I just was tired of these Sprint and AT&T and Verizon charging me $45-50 a month for my phone. And my original Mint Mobile plan, yes, please sub. My original Mint Mobile plan, I was paying $15 a month, and I'm at the point now where I prepaid every year. You'll see that's what I have linked there. It's a yearly subscription to the mobile plan, $360 a year for unlimited. You pay it once a year, if you could afford to do it like that. I mean, I'm not wealthy or anything, but I just make sure I have the money in January and I sign up for my year. And then I don't have to get a monthly bill. I don't have to worry about it every month. I just sign up once a year. So you could also help out the channel. Yes, it's a sponsorship. I get a tiny cut, but you'll mostly be helping out yourself. You see the Ryan Reynolds commercials with Mint Mobile and all that stuff, I'm sure. But I'm here to tell you, I've been with them for 10 years now. I have no problems with the service. They have, if I call them up, they answer the phone right away. The app's a little wonky, I'll be honest, but it's a great service. If you want to help out the channel, help yourself, get Mint Mobile. One of the best things you can do is just subscribe, though. Yes, you should subscribe.
President Trump signed an executive order on Thursday that was supportive of glyphosate, the key ingredient in Roundup weed killer, about which thousands of people have made cancer claims in court. He directed the Agriculture Secretary to ensure the country has an adequate supply of glyphosate-based herbicides, also saying that producers of such chemicals should have immunity under the Defense Production Act. The move was met with backlash from the Republican-aligned MAHA movement, which is widely against the use of pesticides and is also skeptical of vaccines. The movement is linked to Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Michaels, a proponent of the
So basically he signed an executive order. This is Trump, your MAGA's golden god for the people. He signed an executive order to protect companies who've been using glyphosate from being sued by individuals who get cancer. A shout out to Christina Applegate. Yeah, sure, Christina Applegate. I loved her in that 80s TV show. What was it called? I can't remember, but she was great in that. I loved her in Anchorman. You know, she has some kind of cancer now, right? It's probably from glyphosate.
Administration's MAHA movement and a staunch supporter of Kennedy Jr. said the pesticide should be pulled off the shelves after years of reported health concerns. The television personality said Trump gave them blanket immunity through the new executive order just a day after Roundup maker Monsanto and thousands of plaintiffs reached a $7 billion and $25 million settlement agreement. The order also says that glyphosate helps farmers efficiently and cost-effectively produce food and livestock feed. Despite being critical of glyphosate in the past, Kennedy backed the measure, writing that the move would bring agricultural chemical production back to the United States and end our near-total reliance on adversarial nations. Given the profit margins growers currently face, any major restrictions in access to glyphosate-based herbicides would result in economic losses for growers and make it untenable for them to meet growing food and feed demand.
Let's be clear, he's talking about, in Trump's order, he's worried about the profit margin for growers. These are big industrial growers, not small farmers. I mean, most of the farms in the U.S. now are big industrial corporate farms that make good profits and, you know, make shitty food, and we all pay the price for it.
Demands. The order reads, however, Michaels argued that this is not true. I do not buy that we have a bevy of ultra-processed crops, corn, soy, wheat. There is unfortunately no shortage, which of course has to do with hundreds of billions in the subsidy dollars. And I think that somebody powerful called up someone else powerful after paying out $7 billion and $25 million and essentially saying this is an existential threat. We need to call in this favor. And they did, and it is exceptionally upsetting, Michael said. This does not just affect farmers, this is omnipresent. It is you, they would probably find it in yours, and my urine right now if they tested for it, she added. Jillian Michaels on Trump.
Okay, let's keep moving on. VA changes will take away benefits if a veteran's medications alleviate symptoms. Trump won the veteran vote by 61%. Of course, he's screwing veterans. I mean, I don't know why veterans voted for him. He's insulted veterans a million times, saying they were suckers and losers for going to war for the U.S. I'm going to do something fun that I do sometimes is...
Since being named CBS News' editor-in-chief in October, Barry Weiss has turned the network into a soft MAGA mouthpiece, or a Fox News Light, if you will. It's a shift so dramatic and so worrying that its evening news show lost more than 1 million viewers in its first week with her newly appointed anchor. From softball interviews with Donald Trump and top administration officials to pushing ICE propaganda online about Rene Good, Barry Weiss has unraveled any last bit of trust in that network. And if that isn't enough to make Walter Cronkite roll in his grave, just take a look at CBS's newest roster of contributors, which is a who's who of, at best, centrist pundits, and at worst, right-wing hacks. Take Dr. Peter Attia. Though not a board-certified physician, Dr. Attia is a...
In the Epstein files.
...expert who hosts a podcast about lengthening your lifespan. Attia also just so happens to be mentioned over 1,000 times in the Epstein files, even telling the late sex offender, quote, the biggest problem with becoming friends with you, the life you lead is so outrageous, and yet I can't tell a soul. And while Attia's CBS stint might soon be short-lived, they haven't fired it yet, there'll be no need to fill the right-wing wellness void because Barry Weiss also hired Andrew Huberman, who's been known to parrot a little bit of pseudoscience on his podcast, The Huberman Lab, and Mark Hyman, who is conveniently a close friend and ally of the Bunker's Health and Human Service Secretary, RFK Jr. There's also Rehan Salam, who's the president of the conservative think tank, the Manhattan Institute. H.R. McMaster, who was Donald Trump's national security advisor. There's also Neil Ferguson, the conservative historian, defender of empire, and new big fawning fan of Donald Trump. Quote, the reality is that Trump won Davos hands down, and not only did he win it, he owned it. I've never before seen a single individual so completely dominate this vast bazaar of the powerful, the wealthy, the famous, and the self-important. That's Neil Ferguson on Donald Trump at Davos. And then, of course, there's also Coleman Hughes, who, like Neil Ferguson, is another free press columnist and wannabe conservative contrarian who has expressed sympathy for Derek Chauvin, the officer convicted for murdering George Floyd. Yes, these are the new faces of CBS News, 19 new contributors in total, and not a single one of them a leftist, a progressive, or a socialist. 0 out of 19. Yes, that's what Barry Weiss calls balance. Look, it's very easy to dunk on Weiss and CBS, but this is a bigger issue than just CBS's current language shift. Because across so-called liberal media, there's a glaring absence of proper progressive voices. Take the New York Times op-ed pages, for instance. They have a lot of liberals there, yeah, centrist types, your Nick Kristofs and Ezra Kleins, and also lots of conservatives like Bret Stephens, David French, and Ross Douthat. The Times did not have a fully leftist columnist. Voted. Not a single one, until Jamal Bluey joined in 2018, and it's still just basically him. Take a look at the Atlantic magazine, arguably the US's most elite political magazine, which just published David Brooks from the New York Times op-ed page. Brooks, who describes himself as, wait for it, a moderate Republican. Again, they have, the Atlantic has only one out-and-out leftist columnist, and so in a sea of centrist liberals and moderate conservatives. How about MSNBC, their supposed left-wing network? No actual left-wing hosts in prime time, with the exception of Chris Hayes. When I was at MSNBC, I was literally the only host on air who had openly supported Bernie Sanders for president in 2016 and 2020. Since I left that network, how many openly socialist or even progressive voices do you see anchoring on air on a regular basis? According to the polls, 62% of young Americans and 66% of Democrats have a positive view of socialism. So why are socialist voices absent from our mainstream media, from the liberal press? Why are they suppressed and censored? What happened to representing Americans, having a diversity of viewpoints? Luckily, that's where Zatteo comes in. When I founded Zatteo, I wanted to build an independent media company that will never bend to the will of billionaires or mega corporations, nor do softball interviews or both sides coverage. I also wanted to create a media organization that represented voices from across the liberal left spectrum. And that's what I did. Yet people still ask me, man, why don't we have conservative voices on Zatteo as contributors? Because that's what the rest of the media is for. They're already very well represented in the mainstream corporate controlled press. There's dozens, hundreds of them. That's the whole point of Zatteo, creating a space for voices that aren't represented in our mainstream media. From Naomi Klein, to Spencer Ackerman, to Fatima Bhutto, to John Harwood, to Owen Jones, to Taylor Lorenz, to Viet Van Nguyen, to Deanna Bhutto, I could go on and on. The media may be biased against the left, but we're doing something about it. So, enough with the CB.
Well, folks, it seems like Donald Trump forgot to redact this. He forgot to remove it from the Epstein files. I think it's pretty clear to anybody who went through the files yesterday that Donald Trump's Department of Justice and his team scrubbed his name from the files. They removed any mention or any photos of Trump and Epstein together, or they simply just didn't release any documents where Trump has mentioned any photos of Trump. Of course, they didn't release all the documents at...
Yes, Trump is part of the elite. He's part of the Epstein class. So if you have been covering for Trump all this time, you know, if you're a Trumper, if you thought he was going to do the right thing, well, you were sadly mistaken. He's never going to do the right thing. He is basically the leader of the Epstein class, him and Elon Musk. And all they're doing is, you know, lying, using propaganda to get into office, to control the money, to control you, to make everything more expensive, which you've noticed, I'm sure, and collect all the profits for themselves. What we need to do in the US is take control of the government. The people need to take control of the government. the Epstein class and Epstein elites need to be relieved of their positions, if not relieved of other things. And we, the people, the 99%, not the 1% that's running the country now, we're, by electing Trump, we're letting Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and, these big tech jerk-offs run our country, and all they are doing is, stealing your money, basically. I hope you guys watch the State of the Union. Watch what frontal lobe dementia, which my sister had, looks like, because that's what Trump's suffering from. When somebody has that kind of dementia, it makes their narcissism and everything else worse, which is so obvious to me with Trump. I don't know why it's not obvious to everybody else. I mean, I feel like a lot of people who voted for Trump just have a hard time admitting they were completely wrong. But if you're new to the channel, go ahead and watch my other videos. Watch my video that dropped this morning. Subscribe. If you want to help out the channel, help out yourself, cancel your shitty Verizon phone plan and sign up with Mint Mobile prepaid plan. Go buy your own unlocked phone. Don't be handcuffed to Verizon, paying for your phone each month, your expensive iPhone. You could get an iPhone on eBay for $500, and that's unlocked. So if you go, say you travel to another country, you don't have to pay Verizon's crazy international fees. You just get a SIM card. It's so easy now, an eSIM card in that country, and you buy, like, say when I go to the Philippines, I pay $2 a week for an unlimited phone plan on a SIM card that I just buy at the airport when I get there, an eSIM, and it's as simple as that. I'm Jewish. I'm not related to Jeffrey Epstein at all.
Headline today reads, oil executives across the United States see disaster coming from the Trump administration.
It's a little windy.
The business
Sorry
activity
about that.
index has dropped from 6 to 3.8. That's nearly in half. The company outlook index has dropped 12 points to negative 4.9. And the uncertainty index has jumped to 21 points to 43.1. It's basically doubled. And this is where I begin to wonder if people in the industry who have actively made efforts to silence me over the years are starting to say, shit, he's right. One thing I've kept very private is the struggles that I've personally had to go through talking about the oil and gas industry in the United States. It's been quite an ordeal, for sure. And I'm not going to get that much into it because that's not my purpose here. That is something that I chose to do. It's a decision that I made knowing the potential consequences. And, I've gone through those consequences. And there's still stuff going on today that I'm going to have to deal with, that other people are going to have to deal with as well. And it is true that a lot of people have suspected that I've gone through a lot of hell by talking about the oil and gas.
This is a victim statement made by a survivor of Epstein, Maxwell, and Prince Andrew that took place when the survivor was around 6 to 8 years old. This is a real verified document in the Epstein files on the DOJ website. The incident took place between 1994 and 1996. The statement reads, when I was 6 to 8 years old and living at Redacted, I was rubbed at night and driven by my father, Redacted, to PDF file parties. The main house I was taken to is located behind Redacted at the end of a private road. Redacted is next door. In the driveway of this house, I was hit by a dark blue car with a personalized license plate ending in DOY, driven by Prince Andrew. I was not taken to hospital, but I suffered permanent injuries to my ribs, hips, and leg on my right side. The car's hood figurine broke off in my hand on impact, and I later buried it near my home so it could still be recoverable as evidence. After I was hit by the car, I woke up to Prince Andrew forcing his mouth on mine and pushing my legs apart. He raped me. In that household, I was also actually orcharded with household tools and nitrated with a beer bottle. I have medical records of the resulting infection. I once ran away from the house aching and made it to the redacted community down the road. These are GPS coordinates that are redacted. I remember seeing and speaking to a man, so I think that there may be redacted who could corroborate what goes on there. I'm gonna stop there for a moment because just reading this is so nauseating. So while I take a second, I just want to remind you that every single day, more documents are being removed from the DOJ website. Let's continue. I was also taken to another house that I recognized as redacted. There, I was restrained on a table and orcharded with electrical shocks by Ghislaine Maxwell and surrounded by watching men. I remember seeing Prince Andrew's face. After being raped by another man there, I tried to sneak out. Maxwell caught me and beat me with the bristle end of a broom. She traded my parts with the handle of the broom. She also threatened me, saying that I deserved to X alive and hit me in the face with the broom, break my nose. I was only taken to the hospital for the broken nose after, so that the injury could be blamed on that. I always want to say at the end of these videos that we need to be angry, but there is not a big enough word that exists that describes anger when reading this. The powerful and the elite did things behind glass doors with $10 million chandeliers hanging from their ceilings. Anyone knows that spoke and share them with you to bring awareness, just scratching the surface of a huge iceberg. To follow and hear about the contents of the
I hope you guys realize that these people who did these things, Epstein, Trump, Prince Andrew, Trump's Secretary of Commerce, Howard Lutnick, who I think is guilty too. These are not great men. These are not overly intelligent men. Elon Musk. These are guys who were born into wealth. They're nepotism babies. They've done nothing special. They're not special. And they should be prosecuted just like everybody else who breaks the law. These are not special people. They're not leaders. They're not intelligent. They're criminals, they're perverts, they're lunatics, and they need to be brought to justice. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.